Hi, my name is Oliver Vu-Delian, and today we'll be talking about the P2R reading strategy. In order to talk about the P2R reading strategy, we first have to know what a reading strategy is. A reading strategy is one that is done to encourage reading, which would then induce a higher comprehension and reading speed of the material. Three of the major steps to P2R are the preview, the read actively portion, and the review portion. This reading strategy is meant for average reading assignments, such as chapters within a textbook or short stories. I found that this was the reading strategy that worked best for me. Here are the 3 steps of the P2R broken down. For the preview portion, you should take a brief overview of the text while looking for introductions, headers, and conclusions. You can use the introductions, headers, and conclusions to create a general understanding of the text, of the structure of the text that you'll be reading actively. This process should take about 2 to 5 minutes. Next, we go into the read actively portion. You will think about what you read and highlight important text. You should try your best to understand each block of information using the overview you just made in the preview. You should also highlight the most important information in each block that can help you understand the main point of each block. Next, we'll be going into the review. During the review, you should look back at what you just read and the highlights to reinforce the information. You should look back at the highlights or any other mental notes or physical notes that you've made. You can also use the end of chapter quizzes and questions if you've used the textbook. Just any way you can see if you can try to understand what each portion of the text is trying to convey. Essentially, try to look for the main point. Next, we will be going into how the P2R strategy helps. It helps overall increase your interest in what you're reading. The preview can jumpstart the interest in the text, and the read actively and review portion can maintain this interest. This improves your motivation and your ability to finish assignments. It can also help you improve your comprehension of the text, as the active reading and review portion can lead to higher understanding of the contents within the text. By going over the content multiple times, you enforce the ideas that you've learned and create a coherent way of understanding the paper. This can also improve your critical thinking skills. You can also use PTR to increase your reading speed, or at least the amount of information gained from a reading session. A faster speed can lead to more things to do, which can also lead to, in turn, a greater time management skills. Here's the research that supports P2R. It was written by Diana L. Van Berkelum from the University of Pittsburgh. She tested these methods, the P2R method in particular, on many students and found that it was a very efficient way to read texts and increase understanding of the course material. I also used the P2R strategy in order to understand the content of my physics class. I would have to constantly refer to the textbook to understand the course material for a quiz. I generally found the content to be boring, and as a result, it was difficult for me to keep focus on the text while understanding it critically. Before learning about the P2R strategy, I found that I would get an average quiz score of 78%. However, after using the P2R strategy, I was able to successfully understand the content. The preview helped me become interested in learning the content, while this interest led to me actively reading and staying on task for longer periods of time. This would usually make my review sessions go way more smoothly and improve my overall comprehension of the material. However, this strategy is not always going to look the same in other people. It should be adapted thusly. First, the reading actively portion will look different for everyone. You should find the best way to highlight information that's important to you. For example, I like to use mental notes rather than anything physical in order to keep track of this information. The P2R strategy will also look different depending on the subject. I use P2R on a subject that's mostly math-based, so I was more looking for equations and how to apply them and what they mean in particular. This will definitely look different than a literature text in which you're looking for the main point of each portion and what it means for the entire story or whatever it is as a whole. Those who have trouble reading or continuing to read will find it useful to also weave positive reinforcement with P2R. Positive reinforcement is the idea of rewarding oneself when they accomplish a task that's difficult for them. By doing this with P2R, for example, by giving yourself a treat after you finish the review portion, or giving yourself a cookie every time you finish the preview portion will help reinforce these skills into habits. Thank you for listening.